and we'll go on to item 16, AB 1397.
Thank you. So AB 1397 is a companion measure really to provide more transparency to the Accrediting Commission. We have a commission currently that holds completely closed-door meetings with extraordinarily limited public comment and absolutely does not allow any public attendance. Again, citing the previous over-sanction rate, we are trying to shed a little more light onto an organization that is primarily funded with public dollars through its community college system. So with that, I respectfully ask for your aye vote on AB 1397.
Witnesses in support.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Obviously, I introduced myself prior. Again, I am representing myself, and I want to state that I, as a president, fully support a peer-reviewed accreditation process, and I appreciate the Assembly members' comments regarding maintaining high standards. I think we all share that. I also want to tell you that in terms of personal background, I was a former independent auditor. I'm actually a certified public accountant, and although accreditation and auditing are two different things, there's some similarities. So I have that experience in my own personal background to compare the current process we have. Finally, I'd like to state that as president, I've been president for 9 years. In those 9 years, I've served on 10 accreditation visits. Some were full accreditation visits, some were follow-up visits, and I chaired 9 of those 10. So I think I have a very unique perspective. And what I want to do is I want to state that I believe the process is flawed, and in particular, I'm concerned about the lack of due process, the inability of colleges to interact with the chair of the team after the accreditation is finished. We all share in wanting to ensure that the information that the Commission acts on is fundamentally correct. And right now the communication is one way. I've experienced it from both ends, both as a chair and then certainly my own college, which was just reaffirmed in 2013. And it's a very frustrating process. I commend the Assembly members' bill because it does allow the opportunity for additional two-way communication. Thank you.
Any other witnesses in support?
Thank you. Mr. Chair and member of the committees, good afternoon. My name is Joanne Waddell, and I'm the president of the Los Angeles College Faculty Guild, American Federation of Teachers, Local 1521, representing 4,200 faculty on the 9 campuses in the Los Angeles Community College District. I'm here to speak in support of Assembly Bill 1397, authored by Assemblymember Ting, to set a fair, objective, and transparent accreditation standard for California community colleges. California colleges throughout California have been unfairly caught up in an arbitrary system, which has caused for alarm among faculty and students across our state. Different rules should not exist for different schools, yet this is the common practice. And not just the accreditation process in 1 or 2 of our 112 California community colleges, not just City College of San Francisco, not just Compton or San Jose Evergreen or Cuesta, but across the state. AB 1397 has the potential to begin reestablishing the real purpose of accreditation, a credible peer review process that improves the learning environment and the lives of our students. To protect and promote the effective and credible peer review accreditation process across the state, the legislature must act to establish guidelines for basic safeguards, public engagement, and due process. Preventing basic abuses like document shredding and arbitrary decision-making behind closed doors without appropriate representation are reasonable expectations. The measures in this bill will help ensure the community colleges throughout California participate in a process that is fair and just, with meaningful feedback to the colleges as we pursue our mission to serve our 2.1 million students, who each one striving to reach their academic and career goals. Our students deserve the stable learning environment that a fair accreditation process brings. So now is the time to enact these modest reforms, these common sense policies and practices, some of which have been recommended repeatedly for over a decade by multiple studies and reports. Thank you for your time, and I urge you to support Assembly Bill 1397.
And I'm keeping time, and we have about 30 seconds.
Okay, so hi, my name is Chanel Williams. I'm student trustee at City College of San Francisco. I've also served on the Student Senate for California Community Colleges. I want to urge this committee's aye vote on this important legislation. We have, as students, been living in fear of our educational future, and this should not be happening with the accreditation process. So I urge again your aye vote.
Thank you. Other witnesses in support?
Jennifer Baker with the California Teachers Association in support.
Andrea York on behalf of FAC in support. Joe Stanton, External Affairs Center for the Student Center for California Community Colleges, in support.
Michael Young with the California Labor Federation, here also in support.
Thank you. Tim Killikelly, AFT 2121, Faculty Union, City College of San Francisco, in strong support. Thank you.
Former student of community colleges, Galina Gerasimova, I speak in strong support of this bill. Thank you.
Victor Costa, Bay Area External Affairs Center for the Student Center for California Community Colleges, in strong support.
Any witnesses in opposition?
Ryan McElhaney with the Community College League of California. We were initially opposed to this bill for the same reasons as AB 1385, but we certainly appreciate the proposed amendments. We think it makes it a better bill, and so we're looking forward to working with the author moving forward. Thank you.
I am Norv Wellstreet with the ACCJC. As a federally recognized accreditor, the ACCJC must meet federal requirements which include conflict of interest and definitions of academics. Regional accreditation is the gold standard of quality assurance in higher education. It's rigorous. Membership is voluntary, and institutions commit to participation in a process that is challenging and extensive. It is an effective peer review that relies on extensive and detailed expertise on a wide variety of standards. Nationally, almost 20,000 professionals participated in accreditation reviews in 2009. Accreditation preserves institutional diversity. It's focused on how successfully institutions meet their mission while providing valuable insight into institutional quality. Accreditation is non-governmental. Federal regulations require that accreditors be independent and not owned by any level of government. The ACCJC is transparent. When changes are made to policy, it is developed by the Policy Committee. It is then presented at a public meeting of the Commission for a first reading. It then is circulated to the membership for comment, and it is approved at another public meeting at a second reading. For many years, the ACCJC has reported all of its actions and policies to the BPPE and the Chancellor's Office. Direct reporting to legislative committees has been added in the last year. The accredited status of all institutions is available on the ACCJC website, and the ACCJC requires that all institutions are required to post their accreditation report and their action letters on their college websites. The appeal process that is utilized by the ACCJC is in compliance with federal regulations. The creation of the appeals process within the Chancellor's Office would violate the independence of the ACCJC, and as such would be inconsistent with federal regulations and endanger Title IV funding eligibility. We recently completed an extensive revision of the standards. Over 500 individuals, 6 public hearings, 4 task forces, and multiple statewide conferences were involved in that revision. We have made significant changes to the standards and our processes. Policies have changed, training has changed, and support to institutions has changed. Thank you.
Any other witnesses in opposition? Questions or comments from the committee? See no questions or comments from the committee?
Sure. I think that this is a much better bill. I just think that we've seen over the past couple of years continuous bills thrown to this committee that would run the danger unamended of endangering students' opportunities. And I don't fault you as the author for it, but there's a strong push to go as strong as you can. I appreciate you being willing to look at what I think is a much more reasonable bill right here and provide some sunshine. I think having more openness to the meetings is legitimate, something I can support. But, last year it was making it optional whether to have accreditation. I mean, you know, those kind of ideas thrown out doesn't take into account what that would cost students with financial aid. This year, it's an appeals process where essentially the same entity that's under scrutiny gets to name the people for the appeals process, right? I mean, you know, if University of Phoenix or one of the private for-profits came here and told us that they want an appeals process for their accreditor that would then be named by the University of Phoenix, we would laugh them out of this room. And, you know, we have to make sure that regional accreditation means something. That's why the publics are better. That's why students go to the publics. That's why they'll get a better education, and that's why they'll get better jobs. And we have to protect that quality. Otherwise, that difference is not meaningful. So I appreciate the author for willing to put some sanity in this bill and for agreeing with amendments with the chair. Thank you.
And just a question to the author.
I accept the amendments. I
that was my question.
did not state that at the beginning. I stated for the first bill, but not the second. So
You'd like to close?
Absolutely. Again, just thank you to the chair, the consultant. I think we have a process of accreditation that is rigorous. First and foremost, it should always be focused on self-improvement and not punitive. And I think, unfortunately, it's moved lately more towards the punitive nature. And I think we need to make sure we have a process that we can participate in. When I tried to participate in these so-called public meetings, I wasn't allowed to speak. And it was not clear whether I was even allowed to attend. And so whether I'm an assembly member or just a member of the public, I think that's not right. So again, I think this is a measured approach to really adding more transparency to an organization that receives most of its money from us, the state.
I want to thank the author for working with me on the amendments. And as probably many of the members of the committee know, it was a subject that I grappled with. And I spoke with lots of college presidents, chancellors, faculty members, and as being someone who's come out of community college myself and education, I agree with the author and some of the comments here that certainly accreditation is something that is designed for improvement of the education that's delivered. And I see that about 60% of community colleges throughout the state are facing some kind of at least admonition from the accrediting association. So I don't disagree that accreditation should be tough, but I think there's flaws right now, flaws that need to be addressed, and I think this bill will help push the conversation forward. I think we had conversations also with the author that the report is coming in the next several months from the Chancellor's office, and I think we have a little bit of a understanding that perhaps we can include some of those things that come out of the report as well. But with all that, my recommendation is a yes, support, and do I have a motion?
Second.
We have a motion for Mr. Williams, second for Ms. Weber. The motion before us is due pass as amended to Appropriation Committee. Madam Secretary.
Medina?
Aye.
Medina, aye. Baker? Baker, no. Bloom? Chavez? Harper? Harper, no. Irwin? Irwin, aye. Jones Sawyer? Jones Sawyer, aye. Levine? Levine, aye. Linder? Linder, aye. Lowe? Santiago? Weber? Weber, aye. Williams? Williams, aye.
Thank you.
7-2, your measure passes. We'll leave it open for absent members to add on. And next, item 8, AB 1091. Mr. Garcia.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Let me begin by thanking your team with the committee for working with our office, and I will state for the record that we are going to be accepting the committee amendments that are highlighted in your analysis. AB 1091 aims to streamline California's financial aid process and increase Cal Grant and FAFSA completion rates. AB 1091 is requesting from the California Student Aid Commission that they make available to each school and school district a relevant list of 12th graders who have properly and successfully completed their application. Based on the feedback from students and families that we've spoken to in our district and throughout the state, completing the FAFSA application could be a difficult process, specifically for first-generation going college students. This bill is building on a bill that was authored last year by Assemblymember Ting, and the bill strides to require an electronic submission of graduation verification data. With that, I respectfully ask for your support on this important measure that will ultimately lead to greater successful applications and ultimately more students receiving the resources they need to attend higher education.
Are there any witnesses in support?
Angela Williams, California Student Aid Commissioner, in support.
Any other witnesses in support?
Rosa DeAnda with the Community College Chancellor's Office, and we're in support of this bill.
And if we could use this mic.
Joe Stanton, External Affairs Center with the Student Center for California Community Colleges. I support this bill.
Any witnesses in opposition? Questions or comments from the committee?
Move the bill.
Second. First motion by Ms. Weber, second by Mr. Jones Sawyer. Would like to close?
Just respectfully ask for your aye vote, and thank you for entertaining this important matter.
Motion is due pass as amended to Appropriations Committee. Madam Secretary.
Medina.
Aye.
Medina, aye. Baker. Aye. Baker, aye. Bloom. Chavez. Harper. Aye. Harper, aye. Irwin. Aye. Irwin, aye. Jones Sawyer. Aye. Jones Sawyer, aye. Levine. Aye. Levine, aye. Linder. Aye. Linder, aye. Lowe. Santiago. Weber. Aye. Weber, aye. Williams. Aye. Williams, aye.
9-0, your measure passes. I'll leave it open for absent members to add on. Moving on to item 7, AB 1066. Ms. Gonzalez.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members. AB 1066 goal is to prevent school districts and community colleges from misclassifying their workers as temporary or short-term in order to avoid providing them with benefits that they deserve. Decades ago, the legislature agreed that non-academic staff at community colleges and school districts must be considered classified employees. However, many temporary workers in the state have been hired on a temporary status, preventing them from earning retirement benefits, holiday pay, vacation time, due process rights, and other essential benefits that classified employees normally receive. But many of these workers perform the exact same duties in the same jobs as permanent employees with identical duties for many years. Even though the Education Code currently has strict requirements on when a district may use short-term or temporary employees, stronger language may be needed to prevent districts' current abuse of these exceptions. We have been approached by our friends at the California School Employees Association, and I'm committed to work with them as we move along the process to stay true to our intent and avoid any unintended consequence for those workers as well. Members, today to testify in support of AB 1066 is Ronald, an employee from San Diego, who has worked over 13 years in a community college district that has failed to classify him as a permanent employee.
Yes, Mr. Chair and Assembly members. Stated here by Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez, I'm one of those workers who've been in the Department of City College and Broadcasting for the last over 20 years, and there's no movement in my progression of being employed as a permanent classified employee. And I am next to my colleagues who are classified, and I'm doing the same job that they are. And I would like for your vote to be a yes and consideration. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members, David Conway from the California Federation of Teachers. We're very happy to sponsor this bill with the Assemblywoman, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Any other witnesses in support?
Joe Stanton, External Affairs Center for the Student Center for California Community Colleges. I support this bill.
Michael Young with the California Labor Federation, also here in support.
Andrea York on behalf of FAC in support.
Any witnesses in opposition? Seeing none, any questions or comments from the committee? Would you like to close, Ms. Gonzalez?
I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Do I have a motion?
Move the bill.
Moved by Mr. Jones Sawyer, second by Mr. Irwin. The motion before us is due pass to Appropriations Committee. Madam Secretary, if you'd call the roll.
Medina.
Aye.
Medina, aye. Baker. Baker, no. Bloom. Chavez. Harper. Harper, no. Irwin. Irwin, aye. Jones Sawyer. Jones Sawyer, aye. Levine. Levine, aye. Linder. Linder, aye. Lowe. Santiago. Weber. Weber, aye. Williams.
6-2, it's on call.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Lopez? And it's item 9 and item 13. Item 9, Assembly Bill 1112.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I'm pleased to present to you AB 1112. This bill looks to adding parent education to the courses to the offering through the regional consortium. It expands parenting education to include family literacy education with a special focus in support adults with children and adult age with English limited. This bill looks to retain parenting education has an eligible funding categorically. Our studies that show that children whose parents participate in those programs improve academically. And I have with me two testimonies.
Yes, 2 witnesses?
Yes.
2 minutes in support.
So welcome, and thank you for having me today. My name is Corey Villalobos-Moro. I'm a UTLA Parent Education Subcommittee Chair. I'm also a parent education expert. I support AB 1112, parent education. California families need your support. The federal, state, and county continue to provide funding for quality preschools. However, if the state of California does not provide funding for parent education through K-12 adult education, California will continue to see high dropout rates, juvenile delinquency, and child abuse. Parenting is more than common sense. Parents need to understand the educational system, California discipline laws, and how to parent in this technological world so they can support their children to reach their full potential. I also have a brief, we had 2 parents who were on their way here and their flights got canceled. They were going to be in support. Can I just read their statement?
You have 4 minutes total.
Go ahead.
Right. 2 witnesses, 4
well, my name
minutes
is,
altogether.
good afternoon, committee members. My name is Maria Pike. I'm here as a parent and parent expert as well, and I'm here in support of AB 86, which includes funding for parent ed through K-12, because as you know, parent education is extremely important, not just parent education, but quality parent education. In fact, according to a study done by Henderson and Burla, the most accurate predictor of a student's achievement in school is not income or social status, but the extent to which the family is able to create a home environment that encourages learning, express high expectations for the children's achievement and future careers, and become involved in the children's education at school and in the community. As a result of studies such as these, parent education has become mandatory for Title I schools. Cutting funding for parent education through K-12, adult ed, will have the biggest impact and most detriment on low-income families. The quality of parent education should be as important to our educational system as the quality of the K-12 courses that we offer to K-12 students, because without the support at home, a student is less likely to succeed. Outsourcing parent education is going to be the likely alternative to cutting adult ed parent education, and outsourcing parent education costs California taxpayers more money, and it's not the solution. Parents desire and deserve the quality programs that we offer, and we're offering it through credentialed, qualified, experienced, and trained teachers. A parent enrolled in parenting classes through an outside vendor is merely enrolling in a class. A parent enrolled in adult education parenting classes is enrolling in a school community. For the parent, the school community is the gateway for further education, including ESL, high school diploma, and career tech education. Even the small benefit of qualifying for a student ID provides that parent enrolled in K-12 adult ed the proud opportunity to be an example to their children of pursuing education for themselves. As advocates for K-12 adult ed parents...
If you could please wrap up.
Okay. So if you don't allow K-12 funding through from the state level down, they are not going to offer any parent education, as you all know. And if parent education is worth doing, it's worth doing right. I urge you to please vote yes on this.
Any other witnesses in support? Any witnesses in opposition?
Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is George Porter. I am two-term chair of the City of Berkeley's Commission on Aging. I am a 14-year instructor at Berkeley Adult School, and I am one of the member of the Circle of Community Advocates that has been coming here for a couple of years in a very long process of trying to figure out what we are going to deal with sustaining the broad mission of adult education. And I just want to say I've been here on many occasions, and I always have supported parent education. I think it is a very, very valuable program. I would like to see actually a little more details in this one. I have no idea how much this could possibly cost. But my problem is not with parent education, but with this specific piece of legislation. I think it is inadequate, and it's going to cause more administrative problems and muddy the policies. I really think it is arbitrary to take the parent ed program and just throw it in the consortia. The consortia is really designed as workforce development. Parenting, older adults, my mind's, older adults, well, no, adults with disabilities, that's a curious one. Adults with, life skills and home economics. These are all social development programs. You do not get paid to raise your child. And I think the issue here has to be with how we can bring these all in together. It really is the consortia's business, the way 84830 is written, to deal with the other 5 programs. If they want to deal, if we want to really allow in this particular one, it really requires more amendments to 84830. And so, as it stands now, we are, all of us, all of these 4 programs are able to be through school district funds. Okay, so why should one social development program historically funded through the adult apportionment be brought and not the others? That's a real serious question. Older adults is of great value. The older adult programs distinguish from community interest. So are these programs that encourage people to better manage their finances and to understand consumer affairs and to, people who are trying to get a foothold in the middle class or stay in the middle class. All 3 of these are important, and I can see no reason to single out one and not the others. The fact of the matter is that they should all be together, and if you think one is more valuable than the others, it should be reflected in the amount of funding, not the eligibility for funding, okay? And all of us, all of these programs are threatened by the fact that Governor Brown did not include funding for them in the preliminary budget. All of these programs are threatened. If anything, I would say that Parent Ed has a better chance of coming out alive.
Please wrap up.
In a K-12 school district. And so if one of the non-listed programs, all of us are in trouble, if one of the non-listed programs is given protected status, I see no good reason for all of them not to be given this. So that's my...
Thank you. Any other witnesses in opposition? Questions, comments from the committee? Mr. Levine.
Yeah, I just have a few comments to make. Well, first of all, I just want to thank Ms. Lopez for the bill. When I learned about this issue, obviously there are a lot of really competing programs that, need money and funding. And I think that the legislature, the governor, has been very focused on making sure that all children are able to reach their potential, particularly in school. And I know that a very big indicator of how a child will do in school is where they come from, where are their parents, where are they being raised. And so this speaks not just, to my heart about how we help every student reach their potential, but also I think in a very practical way, ensures that the investments that we're making in K-12 are good investments, because those children will be coming from homes that are going to be able to support their learning and nourishment. And so I'm very glad to support this bill today, and I'd like to move the bill.
Moved by Mr. Levine, second by Mr. Linder. Mr. Jones-Sawyer.
And I want to join and echo what Assemblymember Mark Levine has said, and for two reasons. One, specifically what he's talking about, making sure that the home environment is safe and protected, because that seems to be one of the major problems that we have, especially in the inner city and other places. And it really struck me, because as I was watching the whole incident that's going on in Baltimore with the riots, there was one mother who took an extreme measure, probably not anything that we taught in any of these classes, but it looked more like how I was raised in a lot of ways. But the thing I want to say, you had a committed parent that probably needed a little more skills on how to deal with that. And if we had classes that she could have done some things early on, so things would have not have escalated. And I know she's been praised for that parenting technique by many people, but we do need to ensure that every parent has the skills to parent. And then second, as many people know, I work on public safety, and there are a lot of people who are incarcerated who have children before they go in prison. They have children while they're in prison. And when they get out, they are parents now. And some have been incarcerated for quite some time. They have absolutely no parenting skills, and we release them back to their families with no skills or abilities to how to raise a child so that they don't repeat the same mistakes that they made. And so I commend you for putting this bill forward, because I think it not only takes care of the new young people that are coming in and people out there, but there's a bunch of people who are coming out of a situation where they may have done some bad things in the past, and they really need to learn how to be good parents and make sure that their kids don't repeat that. So I'll be supporting the bill today. Thank you.
Mr. Linder.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to add my comments. Mr. Levine and Mr. Jones-Sawyer, I think, said it very eloquently, how the real value of this legislation. The fundamental belief that I hold is that good society starts in a good home. And unfortunately, maybe not everybody has that ability to provide a good home, but this at least gives somebody a place to where they can learn that and have the structure to help build those family values that I think that as Americans we all hold so dear. So I'm a huge fan of this bill. I was surprised even to see that there's some opposition out there, if I can help in any way with this bill, I'd love to co-author this and help out any way that I can. This is a great bill. I love it.
Mr. Williams?
Well, the reason why there's opposition, and I want to say that I appreciate the intention of the author, is that this totally blows up a legislative deal that took years to enact, and that adult education is a zero-sum game. And so if you add this into funding, then that means that the 5 core adult ed programs will have less money. So ESL will have less money. Workforce training will have less money. High school diploma work will have less money. Programs for apprentices will have less money. And educational programs for adults with disabilities will have less money. So I urge members to look at page 2 of the analysis before you vote, because this is a vote for funding for parent-teacher or for parent workshops, but it will take away from those 5 core areas that were determined after many soul searching and much work were determined as the most important elements of adult education, because those are the things necessary for people to get a job. These are very popular, but they are also oversubscribed by people who can pay for them. There is a mixture of incomes in every community that takes this, but if you compare the demographics of these workshops with the demographics of the average adult education person, it is a higher income category. And so what many of these classes have unfortunately done, just because we let everyone into them, is a subsidy for people who would already be able to do it. I think if we had tons of money, this would be great to fund. We don't have tons of money, and the vote for this today will be a vote against offering classes for high school diploma, against ESL classes, against education programs for adults with disabilities, against short-term career educational programs, and against programs for apprentices, because those are the programs that will lose money.
Ms. Irwin.
I am a huge supporter of adult ed, and especially the parent education programs that we have in our community. Unfortunately, I do agree with what Mr. Williams says. We have an existing structure, and that is through the budget process, and this was already agreed upon by the legislature. So while I really appreciate these programs, I don't think that this is the right way to go about it.
Ms. Lopez, if you'd like to close.
Yes, I just want to add it with all the respect, with all the members that are against. Those deals happened when it was years ago. Now we have better economy, and I don't believe that we're cutting for the other programs. I believe that, remember, the statistics show that incarceration for the kids is count with the reading level. So this is not like a fun class. This is a literacy program for our kids. And I've been in those schools, and I see the high need every time. And this is only the first step. Next time I will add it more, because I totally agree. I'm pro-education 100%, and like a parent and a community member, I see it how education system been cutting for adult ed, and this is just the first steps, and I'm gonna looking for another venues to bring this resource back. Thank you so much, and I ask you respectfully to have you vote.
The motion made
Mr.
by...
Chair, just I won't add any more opinion, but the law was enacted last year.
Yeah.
Not years ago.
Motion was made by Mr. Levine, second by Mr. Lender. I want to echo what Mr. Williams said, and to express that although I see the extreme value of parenting classes as a parent, teacher, the law was just passed. And matter of fact, it was just last week that I was in Riverside for the signing of the consortium and the work that they did in my area, like they did across the state of California. And we are just now seeing the results of that work. So that last week in Riverside, I came together with my community college people, with the K-12 school districts, and they, by the legislation that we provided, have changed the way we are delivering adult education. And we are in the process of that. We, in about a 2-year process that we just went through, came up with the categories that adult education was going to address. And it would certainly, in my opinion, set a very bad precedent to go back and undo what we've spent 2 years in doing and adding a new category that was discussed in the previous legislation. And for that reason, I will not be supporting this bill today. Madam Secretary?
Medina?
No.
Medina, no. Baker? Baker, no. Bloom? Chavez? Chavez, no. Harper? Harper, not voting. Irwin?
No.
Irwin, no. Jones Sawyer? Jones Sawyer, aye. Levine? Levine, aye. Linder? Linder, aye. Lowe? Santiago? Weber? Williams? Williams, no.
3-5, the measure is on call.